So we finally have our first full look at the Aurora Armory deck, and there's going to be a bunch of people talking about the new cards that you get access to, perhaps the new synergies or the new ways you could build the existing Aurora deck that is already very meta relevant. But what I want to talk about is how good this Armory deck is, because I will say, I think this is perhaps the best Armory deck that we've ever gotten from this entire product line. And I'll tell you why, specifically from a teaching standpoint. This is the First Strike Aurora deck. It is a learn-to-play product. It is specifically designed to teach someone who has either never played a trading card game or never played within the system of Flesh and Blood how to play Flesh and Blood. And I have already, on multiple occasions, touted this product as the best new player product I have ever put my hands on from a teaching perspective. If you want to teach someone how to play this system, how to play this game, you can teach literally every concept in the game. Well, that's a little hyperbolic. You can teach almost every concept with this singular deck. You can't teach defense reactions because there's not a defense reaction in here, but just about everything else is covered. Oh, Arcane Barrier, that's the other thing, because they gave you Spell Void instead. Everything else you can basically teach how the game functions. You have attacks that are in general just understandable and easy to read, and some of them are literally blank text, and some of them just have go again, so they're very simple and approachable. You have some attacks that have synergy, like Lightning Flow, for example. Photon Rush and Static Shock both have Lightning Flow, a very easy to understand keyword that encourages you to look at other cards and see their attributes. Lightning, oh cool, it makes sense. You have non-attack action cards like Sizzle, which is literally just a 0 for 3 that makes the player look to see if they have the attributes that match it. Okay, great. You have some cards that can easily be flexed out. Remember, you don't want to give someone that's brand new to the game the 100% fully tuned, spec'd out meta deck, because if you do that, then they don't have any room to really feel like they can make it their own or add in cards that are pet cards unless they take it out. And it's a bad idea to say, this is the best thing you can do, here you go. Don't have any personality whatsoever with your deck. If they want to play that way, so be it. They'll get there eventually. But these are cards that give you a little bit of a different flavor and kind of show you what arcane damage functions like. Harness Lightning, for example. You have some other cards that are strictly just downgrades to what you know. Spark Spray Yellow, for example, I think is a great point to understand this. It is a 0 for 3 2-block card, so it's underrate, straight up. It's bad in all fronts. A yellow Spark Spray is not good. But it says when this is defended by 1 or more cards, you can pay a resource, and if you do, it gets +1. So it becomes that breakpoint that we've taught these new players is a good thing with Lightning Surge, not Photon Rush, Static Shock, and Heaven's Claws Yellow. We've learned that this breakpoint of 4 is good, so you could want to pay, for this 1 extra damage and make it that breakpoint. And then, of course, you learn how Lightning Press functions with the terrible Lightning Press on the blue. It's +1 at instant speed. And you can learn how instants can also prevent damage via the Prevent 2 effect on Cloud Cover. So everything you need to learn how to function in this game can be presented to you via Aurora. I love this. It's fantastic. So the question is begged. Well, as a new player, I like Aurora. I understand how she functions. What do I do now? And you might think, okay, just pick up the Rosetta Blitz deck. That's the next step. Now, of course, I don't really like the Rosetta product as like the Blitz deck package. I don't really like the Blitz deck packages personally. I don't think the collection is doing what I want it to do. And I can talk about that at length. If you want a video about me talking about the Blitz deck collection, you can hear my thoughts. Leave a comment down below. But I do think that the decks themselves are pretty cool. Like, for example, you look at this, you're like, okay, if I'm looking to upgrade the First Strike deck, can I pick this up? Actually, no. I think this is a completely different way to take Aurora, and one that is still very valid and explores a different design space using Hit the High Notes and some other attacks that are more generic Runeblade, like Meet and Greet and things like that, creating auras, maybe even creating rune chant tokens. And that's a different way to take it. I think that's great, but that's not what you should do from a new player perspective, because if you're jumping from this First Strike deck, you pick up the Armory deck. And this thing is a beautiful transition. What they've created here is really fantastic from a teaching perspective, because you've laid the groundwork with all of these attacks. You understand that there are some cards in this deck that are not very good and that you could upgrade. you understand that there are some cards that are core, that are very good, that you love to see in your hand. And so what do we get in the Armory deck version of this? Well, we get those same core cards, but then they expand upon it. They give us Lightning Surge, they give us Red Photon Rush, they give us Static Shock, and then they introduce us to some upgrades to the previous deck, right? Red Lightning Press instead of blue Lightning Press. +3 is better than +1, period, end of story, right? They give us a card we recognize in Sizzle, but they took out the yellows and they replaced those yellows with more reds, a lot more reds. Now we have Red Spark Spray, which has never been printed before. It is a 0 for 4 on the base of it. So all of a sudden, that card that we talked about being yellow and just strictly underrate until you pay for it is now a 1 for 5 if you pay for it, or a 0 for 4 by itself that you can, of course, give go again with an embodiment of lightning that you learned how to create and use with the starter product. On top of that, they give us strict upgrades or more powerful versions of attacks like Flittering Charge and Entwine Lightning. Heck, they give you a generic card in Snatch, which is, of course, a very meta-relevant card. They include new cards in the form of Burn Up Shock, which, again, is a meta-relevant card. Electromagnetic Somersault, Electrostatic Discharge, new ways to play around with instants that, again, make the meta deck right now. If you're looking at Aurora and you're like, I need cards that literally go in that deck, well, there they are right there. This is stuff we've already seen before. And then they give you some new cards, which, of course, other Armory decks have done as well. Like Skyward Serenade is a brand new Lightning Runeblade action that is very cool. Gives you a choose 2 option, lets you choose between some different modes, and all of the modes are solid. They give us Skizik, I think that's how you say that, I'm just going to go with it, which is a simple 0 for 3 that blocks for 3, but you can go tutor it with Skyward Serenade if you want to. And you can also, if it has go again, it gets itself to a 0 for 4, 3 block at a red, is very good. But one of the biggest step-ups, of course, besides all of these other really solid attacks, including Arcanic Shockwave, is Arc Lightning. They've printed Arc Lightning, presumably in 3 of. I don't know if I've seen confirmed that it is in 3 of, but I think they opened this on stream. I was not able to catch the stream, and you can't scroll streams back on Twitch, which sucks. So maybe we should plan around that in the future. But Arc Lightning, this is the Blood Rush Bellow of this Armory deck. And again, if we think back to when Armory decks became a thing with KO, the question was always raised, why are we not getting Blood Rush Bellow? And of course, you could look back and you can argue, well, that deck wasn't really built around Blood Rush Bellow, but still, the question remains, what's wrong with including that card that's not perfectly synergized with it? This is not a perfectly synergized meta-relevant deck, and yet here it is, Arc Lightning, a very fantastic Majestic that is a windmill slam into this deck. So all of a sudden, we see that this deck is already more powerful and closer related to the deck that's, you know, finely tuned, if you will, which I can just pull up right here. This is the Brian Hoffman's Calling Memphis 3rd place deck. And if we're looking at the contents, Arcanic Shockwave, Burn Up Shock, Electromagnetic Somersault, Electrostatic Discharge, Entwine Lightning, Flittering Charge, Lightning Press, Lightning Surge. I mean, Snatch, Static Shock, Arc Lightning, the list goes on and on. When we compare that to the Armory deck, they've given you most of the tools, and they're giving you some space to carve out and add to it, to, you know, upgrade the deck. What would you upgrade? Well, you can see this is clearly a spot where you could upgrade. You could take this out, you could pop in E-Strikes if you wanted to. You could lean into the higher denomination of lightning attacks. Of course, you would want to include probably the best card in the bunch in Gone in a Flash. You don't need to buy the fancy version, but Gone in a Flash is going to be a very good card to include in the deck. You could include defensive cards as well, but they've given you the space to do so. Drop a Sizzle, add something else in. But this deck already functions at face value. Not even talking about some of the new cards. This is an easy step up from the First Strike deck. And a player could learn how to play the game with this product, immediately buy an Armory deck, and immediately play in an Armory and feel like they understand what's going on at a fairly deep level, because a lot of these cards are either the exact same or upgrades to what they just learned with. And that's why I think this product is so good. It's not just because this product is coming out at a time where the hero is one of the better decks in the format. It's not just that. It's not just that this is a fairly thematic and interesting hero. It's not just that either. It's not just the fact that we got a solid reprint here, some brand new cards that are pretty spicy overall, some pretty interesting little synergies, and a full suite of equipment that I just want to say, as a side note, I think they should do this going forward. If you release an Armory deck, please, for the love of all that is good, make the art on the hero incorporated into their armor, into their equipment, because it makes it feel like you're playing that hero. These are the shoes, the boots in the art. Please just do that going forward. It makes so much sense. It's not just all of that. This is just a hit from a conceptual building forward and teaching tool. This is just a hit completely. This deck is very well created if I want to teach my friend how to play Flesh and Blood. This would be what I would do. I would start with the First Strike deck. I would teach them how to play. I would hand them an Armory deck. I would say, come play in the Armory. Are there places to, increase the competitiveness? Can I cut cards and introduce other cards? Sure. Enlightened Strike, great card to add. Gone in a Flash, great card to add. Ravenous Rabble, Scars, easy. Easy. Commons, problem solved. Easy to go and grab. Defense reactions, sure. You can swap out the blue suite. I didn't even talk about that. Swap out the blue suite in favor of other blue cards. But all of this to say that this deck is very good for onboarding new players. Now, there are fundamental issues with onboarding new players into Fab. And of course, that comes from the price point of many of these right here, the equipment pieces and the staples, right? But if we introduce a product that is easily onboardable to a hero that is easy to pick up, that is aggressive in nature, that teaches players how to play their cards and play them consistently every single turn, we can start to eat into some of the accessibility issues. And that really will come going forward with equipment suites and with reprints on staples or reintroductions of cards, sideways printings of power cards, that sort of thing. I think that's where Flesh and Blood really needs to expand and improve on, so that new player onboarding is even smoother than what it is now. But as far as designing a deck that can teach someone how to play, they have mastered it with these two products. Let me know what you think in a comment below. Am I right on? As a teacher, this just resonates with me, and I don't mind gushing about it for like several minutes at a time, because I really do appreciate the idea that they've presented here. A starter deck and then a more fleshed out version that still has room to grow. I'm a big fan. Let me know if you're a fan in the comments below, and tell me this as well. Tell me what video I should make next. Tell me what you want to see from me next. What type of video? Do you want to see gameplay? Do you want to see a deck tech? Do you want to see me talk about random things in the world of Flesh and Blood? Or do you want me to review like TCG products, like these Dragon Shield Perfect Fit inner sleeves that I can't stop using because I'm addicted? Let me know that in a comment below as well. As always, thanks for watching.